Okay everyone, in this section or lecture we're just gonna build a really simple scraper and we're going to save the scraper's data to a MongoDB database. Specifically we're going to use the free MongoDB database that's called mlab. So let's take a look at how this works. So let's build a folder first for our scraper. Let's call it the Reddit scraper. And then inside of this Reddit scraper, as usual, we are going to run npm init --yes. And then we're going to open the folder inside of Visual Studio Code. So now I have the basically empty folder with the package.json file inside. And the first thing we need to do is we're going to add Cheerio request and request promise to build our super simple scraper. And then we need to add Mongoose. So let me just try and enlarge this text so you guys can see what I'm actually getting. So Cheerio request promise Mongoose. And of course I need to type in yarn add. And you can also type npm install if you prefer to use npm. So now I added the packages and you see them here. So let's write our index.js file and we type in Mongoose and Cheerio. And request. Just like that. And then we will write our main sort of function to scrape inside. And we're going to scrape Reddit, but it's going to be a super simple scraper. So in case you don't know Reddit, why is it so slow? Okay. So we're just gonna get the headlines of each of these articles. And yeah, that's going to be it for now. And then we're going to save this data to our MongoDB database. So let's see. So each of these headlines here is a h2 tag. So it's easy for us to select it. So let's go ahead and try to do that. So const HTML, await, request get Reddit. Then we have Cheerio. So we load in the HTML so we can parse it. And then we simply select all the titles by doing a h2 selection. And then we can go through each of these titles and do something with them. Mac keyboards. So let's just type console. And now I want to save the title. So we have the title, which is the element text. And then I just want to see if we are getting the title of all of these Reddit articles. So that is it. Then we call the main function here. Let's try and run it. Okay, so now we get all of the titles of these different Reddit articles. So you can see, for example, this one with Vladimir Putin in it. You see the same article in here. So now we get that. That is a super simple scraper that we're able to build here. But now we need to be able to save it to our MongoDB database. And that's going to happen in the next lecture. Okay, everyone, so now we got our really simple basic Reddit scraper up and running, and now we need to look into how to actually save the data to our database, or MongoDB database specifically. So the provider that we're going to use to get our MongoDB server hosting, I will use MLab. You could also just host your own MongoDB server on your machine, local machine, or use another third-party MongoDB hosting. The nice thing about MLab is that it's free for smaller databases up to 500 megabyte, which actually can last you a pretty long time. But it's fine for small prototyping and development projects. And so it's free to sign up, free to use. You can go in there and you can make a database. So after you made an account, you just go in and create a new database. So let's see, I already made one here called Reddit Data. So I will just delete this one and show you guys how we go through creating the database in MLab. So let me just enlarge the text a bit here. So I'll go ahead and say create new inside of this MLab homepage, and we say create new. Then, well, it's up to you if you want to use Google, Azure, whatever. I just use Amazon, and select Sandbox, which is the free one, and then I select the region that's closest to me after I click continue. And I select Europe because that's the closest one to me. And then we give the database a name, so I call it Reddit Scraper. And then we just submit the order, which is free. And now this is up. No, it's not up and running yet. They're still deploying the database, but it's really fast. You can see it's up now. So we go ahead, click on the database, and then we need to create a user for the database. So we go into users, say add database user, and we just call it Reddit DB user. And password, I will just create a random secure password. I'm just using LastPass, but feel free to make up your own password, of course. I just copy that in. So now we have created a user for the database. We see the user here, and that was just my LastPass coming up. And I will just save the password in here. That's my password. And there's my user, Reddit DB user. And they give a suggestion on a URL you can use to connect, which we are going to be using. So copy this URL you see up here. Copy that. And then I will just paste it here for later use. So then we copy the user, put it in where it says DB user here. Then we copy the password, put it in where it says DB password. Pretty straightforward, right? And now we need to get to the Mongoose connecting part. So now we have the connection string for the MongoDB database, the MLab MongoDB instance. And now we need some way to connect to the MongoDB database. And something we can use is what we already imported up here, which is called Mongoose. So Mongoose is sort of a JavaScript MongoDB driver, which means it contains a lot of functions that you can use to use MongoDB functions, such as getting a list of objects or documents and saving models and so on, and connecting, of course, rather than doing really raw commands inside of MongoDB. You have this nice interface to use it. Anyway, let's try and connect it and get connected to the MongoDB instance we have. So I go async function and I write connect to mlab or MongoDB, and in here we go await mongoose connect, and then we just copy in this string over here. And also you need to use a little option here which says use new URL parser, set it to true. And if you don't set it to true, you're gonna get a warning about that the old URL parser is being deprecated, so you need to pass in this option here. Okay, so once that is done, I will make a new async function, call it main, and we'll call connect to MongoDB. And then once that is done, we will call this function, which I will rename it to Reddit scrape Reddit. And there we go. And then we call main down here as we did before. And now let's put a console log underneath the connect here, so it's a connected to mlab. And yeah, let's try and run it. So I'm just going to comment out the scrape Reddit so we can just see if we actually connect to the mlab database. So node index.js, and we see the connected to mlab string or console log here, and that means we could go further on and get into actually saving models to MongoDB now. Okay, so now we got a connection to MongoDB or mlab, and now what we want to do is we want to create a model and save this model to the MongoDB database. So let me show you really quick what is a model and how do you make one. So let's go ahead and make a new file and call it the Reddit article. And in here we will import Mongoose again. So Mongoose. And then we want to make a variable here called Reddit article. And we want to say mongoose.model. And then we put in the name, like a string of the model name. So Reddit article again. And then we put in a schema in here. So Mongoose schema, and then we pass in what sort of what's the data structure of this model look like. So we have a title, that's a string, and now I just press save and it's formatting it a bit, and then we can export the model. So Reddit article model exports Reddit article, and that's a really simple model we can use inside of MongoDB and save it. So now let's go inside of our index.js, and in here we need to import the model we just made. So Reddit article require Reddit article, like that. I'm just going to delete this commented out string here because we're not using it. So we have the model here, Reddit article, and now we just need to save it or actually create it. So we go const Reddit article, and we say new Reddit article, and then we pass in some options, which is going to be the values of this model. And now since we're using JavaScript ES6, since our variable here we're trying to assign has the same name as the property here, you can actually just write title here. I just typed this out to make it more explicit for you guys who are not used to this feature. But if you're using JavaScript ES6, you can just do like this, because the property and the object we're trying to assign to it is the same name. Anyway, once we've done that, we created the model. Now we can just go Reddit article .save and maybe put a wait in front, and that's basically it. Now let's try and see inside of our MLab database. Okay, so we got the collection here with Reddit articles. It has 0 documents. Now if I try and run this code here, see, connected to MLab, and then all the Reddit articles comes out. Now if we refresh this one, the site here, we should be seeing a lot of documents having been created inside of the collection here. So you see 26 documents has been created inside of the collection. And if you go and click the collection, we can also see all the documents. So document is basically the same as the model you have created in here, a Reddit article. And there you go, you see all of the different Reddit articles being created in here. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, a lot of Mongoose tutorials will show a different way of calling save, which is not using async await, but I like to use async await. I think it makes the code a lot of cleaner. So if you can help it, try and use async and await. I would definitely recommend that. Yeah, so that's it. That's how you make a really simple Mongoose model, save it, connect to a Mongoose database, MongoDB database.